Hey there, this is Vicki Arsenault, and you're listening to another episode of Facing Your Fears. Well, hey there. If you are a lady out there listening right now, I want to invite you to a potential workshop called the Deborah Challenge. So, what this is about is helping women step into the plan that God has for their life and the purpose for you in this season of your life. Now, if you've been sitting there thinking, I don't really know what I'm supposed to do, I maybe feel something, but I'm kind of afraid to step out in it because I'm just not sure, then this is going to be a workshop for you. But the thing is, I'm not going to create the workshop unless there is some interest. So if you are interested in discerning what God is speaking to you for the next season of your life, then I want you to head over to vickiarsenault.com/riseup, which is one word, RISEUP, just to put your name and your email address so that I can keep you posted if this workshop is actually going to happen. And here's why I'm bringing this up. And here's what today's episode is about. This is about the story of Deborah in the Bible. Did you know that there's a woman in the Bible named Deborah way back in the book of Judges, chapter 4 and chapter 5? Now, Deborah was a woman. Not only was she a woman, she was a judge over Israel. What? A woman was a judge over Israel? Yes, ma'am. So, she was a judge over Israel, and not only that, but she was a prophetess. How cool that back in the Old Testament, where everything seemed to be led by men, God puts this one woman in charge over Israel for I think a period of 60 years. So what happened is that Deborah was this prophetess, and she was so good at just discerning and just being wise that all of the Israelites would come to her with their problems so that she could help, figure it all out for them and settle disputes and things like that. So this one day she hears from the Lord, and she calls out to Barak, who's kind of in charge of their military. And she calls out because Israel had been oppressed again for 20 years, and they were crying out to God. So he was about to come and rescue them yet again. Okay, guys, seriously, you can't even blame the Israelites because we do the same thing all the time, right? God will rescue us from something, and then we go on with life and we kind of forget about it until the next crisis. And then all of a sudden we're like, oh my gosh, God help me. And then he does. And then we were like, yay, God, thank you. And then time goes on and we forget about God again, right? So we can't even judge the Israelites for being like this over and over and over because we do the exact same thing all the time. So anyway, back to Deborah. So Deborah calls Barak and says, hey, God's going to free the people. This is the Vicky version. God's going to free the people. So you've got to go do this. Call all of these people. You're going to get this army together, and then you're going to head there. And Barak says to her in verse 8 of chapter 4, I'll go, but only if you go with me. Okay, wait, what? He's the warrior. And he's like, no, I'm not going to go unless you go with me. So she's like, okay, fine. I'll go with you, but you're not going to receive any honor for this venture because God's victory over Sisera is going to be at the hands of a woman. So she went with him. And then they got all of the things ready. And then she says to him, okay, get ready. This is the day the Lord's going to give you victory over Sisera, for the Lord is marching ahead of you. Okay, so there are just some cool things. You can continue to read the story. It's super interesting. And this guy, Sisera, does die at the hands of a woman. It didn't turn out to be Deborah. I'm going to let you just go read that and see what happened for yourself, because my focus of this is actually on Deborah. The thing is that there is a Deborah on the inside of all of us. But we don't live like there's a Deborah on the inside of us. You have the ability to hear from God. You have the ability to discern and make good judgments. You have the ability to go forward into whatever the work is that God has called you to do. And you can go forward into that without fear, because God is always going to go before you. So part of what this Deborah challenge is about is helping you to unearth what it is that God has for you. He has gifted you, as I've said many times on this podcast, He has gifted you with things that are very unique to you, and you have a unique purpose on this earth. Now, it takes time sometimes to figure it out, and sometimes we have to be in a particular season where we're serving that purpose, and then we change seasons. Like right now, I'm in a change of season in my life where I'm trying to figure out, like, what is the next thing that you want from me, God? Like, I have a general direction, but I'm stumbling around in the dark sometimes, but at least still trying to make progress. So it's like you have to just be willing to go forward. Even when you don't exactly know, you just kind of have an inkling. Like, I don't see the big picture of what God wants for me. I just see the little things that I need to do right now. And maybe you're in a space where you're feeling something on your heart. You're feeling a tug in a particular direction, but you're just not sure, like, is that God talking to me? Is that, something I should do? It doesn't seem to make sense logically. Let me just tell you, it never makes sense logically. God is like amazing like that, because he sees things that we don't see, and He can make things happen that we don't even think are possible. So if it doesn't seem logical, it doesn't mean that it's not from God. In fact, it could mean it is from God. So the purpose of that challenge is to help get the focus that you need, because 2022 is coming. And like I've said on this podcast before, probably about a year ago, I've been doing this podcast about a year, my favorite time of year is the new year, because I just look at it with great expectancy of like, oh, what gifts am I going to unwrap this year? Who am I going to meet? What am I going to be doing? What are things that are going to happen that I didn't even think were possible? Because every year that happens. And I want that to happen for you. So I want to help you get a little bit of clarity around what it is God wants for you, and at least give you a direction to start stepping into. It's going to be only like maybe an hour and a half workshop, but it's going to be packed full of stuff that is going to help you move forward and move past this fear that keeps you playing small and helps you step into the person that God created you to be. Now, you've probably been stepping into that person all of your life, right? We're all on this journey, so it's not like something magical is going to happen, but you're going to get a little bit more revelation for this next season of your life. So I want to encourage you to, one, check out the story of Deborah in Judges chapter 4 and chapter 5. And two, I want you to sign up for that Deborah challenge at vickyarsenault.com/riseup, because it is time, ladies, to rise up. Stop sitting on the sidelines. Stop hiding in the shadows. Stop living in a place of fear and doubt and insecurity, and start rising up to be the people that God created you to be. We're not just meant to exist. We're here for a purpose. So let's all step into the purpose that God has for us in this next season of life. One of the scriptures that I really liked out of Judges chapter 5, which was called the Song of Deborah, at least that's how it's titled in the Bible. It was in verse 12, and it says, "Wake up, Deborah, wake up, wake up, wake up and sing a song. Arise, Barak, lead your captives away." I just love that so much. It feels like, wake up. I just want to say to my own soul sometimes, wake up, like open your eyes, get up, let's get going, right? I get all pumped up about this stuff. So I hope that, when we can get together as a group for this workshop, man, we are going to do some waking up. We are going to do some stepping up. We are going to do some lifting up, and we are going to be getting after it. And we're going to start making the impact on this world that we were meant to make. Okay, I'm all fired up. So head on over again, vickyarsenault.com/riseup, and just put your name in there, because if no one signs up, I'm not going to do the workshop. And if you do sign up, I'll just keep you posted of when it's happening and all of the details and stuff like that. And please feel free to share it with any other woman you know. Sorry guys, if you're listening, it's just for the ladies, but make sure you spread the word so that we can really make an impact in 2022. Like, man, let's go, ladies. Like, I got my arms flailing everywhere over here. I'm like so excited. So make sure you do that. And also, if you enjoy this podcast, could I ask you to please share it with your friends and family, or to leave a review on your podcast app so that maybe more people will see it? Because this podcast doesn't actually have to do with my business. Yeah, it could kind of lead into it, I suppose, but this is a whole different mission that God has me doing. And so I don't love asking for things like this, but whatever. I'm doing it because I feel like if God wants to make an impact on people's life, then this has to get out there a lot more to people. So feel free to share it. Make sure you leave a review, and make sure you share the vickyarsenault.com/riseup so that we can get women out there on a mission doing what it is God has them to do. We are no longer going to be people who live in fear of what other people think. We're going to keep our eyes on the one true God, and we're going to follow where He leads us. All right, have an awesome week. I'll see you next time.